Welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival Lives Online Conversation 2021 Festival Edition. Please join me, Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director, and Nina Strike, the Executive Director, in conversation with Irene Pons and Kane from the film A Break for Impact, which is part of both our in-person and virtual programming for this year's Global Peace Film Festival. The limited in-person screenings begin September 21st through September 26th, and our virtual access begins September 27th and ends on October the 3rd. All the information regarding scheduling, inscription, ticketing, and other upcoming events can be found at peacefilmfest.org. And now, please join me in welcoming Irene and Christine. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So let's start with Christine. Christine, can you tell us about the film?
Sure. So this film, it's, this is our documentary following Irene and 4 students. Irene is a professor at the University of Central Florida and had an idea to take some students on an alternative spring break, and this is spring of 2020, to the border in Texas to volunteer and see what was going on. I went along to film to bring that story back for the rest of her classes, and what we found was just so impactful that we ended up, distributing it to a larger audience than just for class. That this follows the students and what they find when they get there.
And Irene, I've had the privilege of seeing the film, but for people who haven't seen the film, can you tell them a little bit about, unpack this very interesting spring break that you take on with your students?
Absolutely. When you think of spring break in Texas, you think of South Padre Island and lots of fun on the beach and drinking. And so this type of spring break opportunity is unique to a UCF experience. And when we got there, it's not what they expected. It's not what I expected. We did expect to try and speak to immigrants and people that were seeking asylum and trying to cross the border. But when we got there, our journey completely shifted and changed into what developed. And that was finding and uncovering some truths that were very hidden and continue to be hidden from society, because most of the mainstream media is not covering the stories that we see and that we saw at the border. And so that border crisis became very real to the students in a way that resonates, I think, with other people. Once they see the film, it kind of tears at your heartstrings.
Well, it's interesting, Irene, that you mentioned the media presentation of what is going on in the border, the Mexico-US border, when in fact your class is a law class. And so can you speak a little bit about what the purpose of taking that kind of class down, to really take things out of the classroom and into the real world?
Absolutely. Most students at the undergraduate level don't have the opportunity to have hands-on experience working with cases. So to have that in an immigration law class, all of the students in my class are future lawyers and hope to practice in areas of, asylum, detention, and different types of visas, and getting people to have, come into our country. Most of them have their own story, which is what draws them to that class. And so being able to go to the border and actually see the immigration crisis and what's really happening versus what they're learning in a book completely changes their mindset and opens up their opportunities to kind of create this zest or fervor for advocacy.
And Irene, you also had mentioned, being surprised to when you got to the border that what you thought from, previous media stories was the case, that there was a different case. Were the students also surprised? Were there any things that changed the students' perspectives?
Absolutely. When they first got there, they kind of, I don't think we knew what to expect. I think Christine and I were of the same feeling. We just didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. But even after their first night, they were like, wow, you know, we knew there was something going on, but we didn't know it was this big. We didn't know that it was this bad. So they were changed by the end of our trip. They were like, I'm going to be an advocate. I'm going to fight for people's rights. I'm going to do something about this.
That's an amazing transformation for a spring break. And Christine, as the filmmaker, can you talk a little bit about your own approach to telling this story, and you know, and maybe the experience that you had as the story unfolded before you?
Sure. So, like, Irene said, we had no real idea of what to expect going in. This was done on a very, very shoestring budget. I was the crew. I was the only one filming, and this was my first time making a documentary film. So I think my goal is just to my struggle is just to capture every moment. And at first, what we were told was we wouldn't be able to film certain places. So I was expecting that, but then we kind of got in with some of the NGOs in Brownsville, Texas, and it really expanded what we were able to film and see, and who we were able to interact with, and the story just got a lot deeper than what we had expected. But yeah, I mean, there were definitely some challenges filming this, but I got everyone involved. I would hand off a camera to Irene or a student, and we made it work. Yeah.
Well, it's a very compelling film, and Christine, you mentioned the NGOs. Part of our mission, actually the central mission of this festival, is to work in collaboration with our community partners, NGOs, civic groups, etc. We try our best to curate films like A Break for Impact that not only tell you about an issue, but offer some kind of model or inspiration to bring change into your own life and into your own community. And maybe in turn, we could start with you, Christine, about that relationship with the NGOs and with the intention, behind telling this story for change.
Yeah, so I mean, I would encourage everyone who's interested in volunteering like this, but thinks, doesn't know where to start, or thinks, I can't make a difference, to start looking around the community. You would be surprised how many people out there volunteering their time and their money. And a lot of these NGOs, their volunteer base lives in New York or California or other states, and they would fly down. A lot of them are retirees, but I would love to see younger people get involved. We talked to someone who said, who's going to replace me when I'm gone? I mean, this is a group of older volunteers, and they're doing what they can. And, it's so impressive, but I would hope that people would get involved, not wait to get involved, I guess.
And Irene?
I think that's why we did the experience for the students, is to light that fire, to be able to have them see and then become the future advocates and the future lawyers, to be able to disseminate this information. Because it's one thing to see the film, but if you're not doing anything about it, then you're not helping the cause. And it's so easy just to talk to somebody about it. Tell them what you saw. This film was great. Here's why. Here's how you can help. And it's that simple. You can share, and that's free. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to have money to do this. You just have to be willing to share your knowledge and let others know what's happening.
And then I would say, Irene had some of her students that weren't even on the trip, having seen the video, the film. Do you want to talk about what they did?
So once they came back, well, the students who were back home created the Immigrant Justice Center at UCF. So now they're dedicating the Immigrant Justice Center to help asylum seekers fill out applications. We have 2 currently active cases where we're trying to find children in detention centers that are missing. Their parents can't locate them, and it's been 6 months. So in the first film, we talk about, which is A Break for Impact, the first one that we've done, because we've done another one subsequent, which we'll talk about. We were watching and we were witnessing. In the second part of our series, we want to be the impact. And so we created a website, A Break for Impact, that connects all of the NGOs that we work with on the ground with students and volunteer opportunities, so that they can either donate monetarily, because ideally, if you can't go out there and volunteer, then money is really what they need, because they're the ones on the ground, they know what's going on, and they know how to help. So it's either contact the resources that we have on the website to then get in touch with them and do something to help those organizations.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And you really pretty much covered my next question, which was how can people watching this support this work? And you've sort of described that. So can you each talk about what's next for you beyond the second film in the series?
Yeah, this past kind of spring break, we went out to Arizona to film a second installment of this. And for now, we'd like to keep exploring the border in different areas. It's a different story anywhere you go. There's different NGOs, but what's so heartening is there's always someone doing the work wherever we've been. And that's what's impressive to me. I think we'd also like to grow this. Irene talked about the volunteer opportunities. We would like to grow this more as a way for students and maybe people in the community to volunteer their time, and for us to hook them up with the different people in the cities that we've connected with.
Well, that's wonderful. And I really applaud your work, and that it doesn't stop with the film A Break for Impact. And thank you both for joining us and for this really informative conversation. And thank everyone who has watched this conversation. If you want to learn more about the work that Irene and Christine described, please do go to abreakforimpact.com. And please also consider watching A Break for Impact as part of the upcoming Global Peace Film Festival. All the information about upcoming screenings can be found at peacefilmfest.org. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you at the next Glow.